In the heart of the desolate desert, a small isolated town nestled beneath the shadows of towering mesas. Its name, Wind Ridge, whispered stories of eerie happenings and the eerie presence of an ancient evil. Among these whispers, the most chilling was the tale of the Skinwalker. One moonless night, the town of Wind Ridge was cloaked in a suffocating darkness. The wind carried with it a sense of foreboding, rustling through the dry brush like skeletal fingers. In a weathered cabin on the outskirts of town, lived Sarah, a woman whose life had been shaped by the legends of skinwalkers. Sarah had always been skeptical of the tales, dismissing them as superstitious ramblings of a paranoid community. But as the night deepened, the air grew heavy with a primal fear she couldn't shake. She lit a lantern, casting flickering shadows across the room, and tried to distract herself with a book. A faint scratching sound at her window pulled her attention away from the pages. Heart pounding, she rose and approached the window cautiously. What she saw made her blood run cold. A pair of gleaming yellow eyes stared back at her from the darkness. A shiver ran down her spine as the eyes disappeared into the night. Determined to rationalize her fear, Sarah chided herself for letting her imagination run wild. Yet, the feeling of being watched persisted. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of the wind outside, seemed to echo with an otherworldly presence. Unable to dismiss her unease, Sarah decided to seek refuge at the local diner. She wrapped herself in a heavy coat and stepped out into the chilling night. The deserted streets of Wind Ridge were cast in an eerie stillness, broken only by the distant howl of a coyote. Her footsteps echoed in the silence, each one a reminder that she was not alone. The diner was a welcome sight, its warm lights spilling out onto the empty street. Sarah entered, greeted by the comforting aroma of coffee and the low hum of conversations. She settled into a booth, attempting to shake off her unease, when a tap on her shoulder made her jump. Turning around, she was met with the concerned eyes of Joe, the diner's owner. He had lived in Wind Ridge his entire life and had grown up with the stories of the Skinwalker. "You okay, Sarah?" he asked gently. She hesitated before recounting her unsettling experience, the eyes at the window, the feeling of being followed. Joe's expression grew solemn as he listened. "It's said that skinwalkers can take on the form of anything they wish," he said, his voice hushed. "They're drawn to fear. The more frightened you are, the more power they have over you." Sarah's unease deepened as she absorbed Joe's words. She left the diner with a sense of dread that clung to her like a second skin. As she walked back to her cabin, her every step seemed to resonate with the stories she had always dismissed. Inside her cabin, Sarah locked all the doors and windows, desperate to create a barrier against the unknown. But the scratching sound returned, louder this time, accompanied by a low, guttural growl. The lantern's light flickered and died, plunging her into darkness. In the blackness, the cabin seemed to come alive. The air grew thick with a nauseating scent, and Sarah could feel a presence moving closer. Her heart raced as she whispered to herself, "It's not real. It's just a story." But the growl grew louder, reverberating through the room. Suddenly, the darkness shifted, revealing a monstrous silhouette that was neither man nor beast. Glowing yellow eyes fixed on her, and a bone-chilling voice whispered her name with a distorted familiarity. Terror surged through Sarah's veins as the skinwalker lunged, its form shifting and contorting in ways that defied nature. In her final moments, she realized that the tales weren't mere superstitions, they were echoes of a sinister truth that had lain dormant in the shadows, waiting for a chance to be reborn. And so, the legend of the Skinwalker lived on in Windridge, a haunting reminder that some fears were too real to be dismissed, and that the line between reality and the supernatural was more fragile than anyone dared to admit.